This is Cuban rapper El Crítico del Arte, or the art critic, a pro-democracy artist imprisoned for 6 years. And one of 53 activists released by Cuba in December. But that same month, this also happened. Police in Havana hauled away human rights demonstrators. With the U.S. and Cuba working to restore diplomatic ties, groups like Amnesty International are closely watching Havana's handling of dissent and freedom of assembly, association, and expression.
We have been seeing that some prisoners of conscience or dissidents have been put back in jail, so there has been some other dissidents have been harassed.
U.S. Assistant Secretary of State Roberta Jacobson says President Obama will talk about human rights with Cuban leader Raul Castro and members of Cuba's civil society at the upcoming Summit of the Americas.
Making sure that the message is clear, that in places where either political and civil space has closed in recent years or remains closed, such as in Cuba, we give support to those who continue to peacefully fight for that space to be open.
While diplomats work to reopen embassies in Havana and Washington, they have also started laying the groundwork for human rights talks. Those talks will face challenges rooted in fundamentally different philosophies on human rights, says Brookings Institution analyst Ted Picone.
The Cubans will emphasize that this is our own domestic sovereign affairs, and you shouldn't be poking your nose into our human rights issues. And the Americans will say, no, these are universal norms that all states have agreed to adhere to, and that includes Cuba.
The U.S. agenda will likely focus on Cuba's political and civil rights record, while Cuba will likely criticize U.S. social services as inadequate. Hands up, no shoot! And point to events in Ferguson as an example of civil rights problems in the U.S. It's a debate Picone says the U.S. will welcome.
We have court systems, we have accountability boards, we have auditing systems, we have ways, we have a free media and a press, we have a very strong Congress. These are ways that we have checks and balances in our system to address these underlying human rights problems. And in the Cuban case, they don't.
However, critics of U.S. policy toward Cuba say Havana has no intention of allowing dissent or basic freedoms. But others believe as more Cubans are exposed to the rest of the world, they will bring change to the communist nation. Rapper El Crítico del Arte is among them, saying change will come as Cubans are allowed to exchange ideas with people who live in a democracy. Mary Alice Salinas, VOA News, the State Department.